Just a trigger warning, this episode contains sexual abuse themes. So if you feel like you will be triggered by this episode, please make sure you seek help. Today, I have with me the lovely Steph. Steph is my friend. We've only just met recently, but I feel like we've really connected like on a spiritual level, and I feel like I've known you for my whole life. So
Wait, 100% Pisces.
yeah,
For
Steph,
sure.
Steph is also
Shout
a
out,
Pisces.
Jazz. Thank you for introducing us. Because
Yeah, Steph is also a Pisces as well. But before we dive into today's episode, can you just tell everyone what you do? I know, like, I'm very excited about this new chapter you're on, but I want everyone else to know you and like find out what makes you the awesome person you are.
right now, what do I do?
Yeah.
Right now, I DJ, which is exciting.
Yeah. So you're an amazing DJ. You self-taught.
Thank you. No, okay, no. I did get taught by a mate, DJ Hamo.
Yeah.
Lost his number. If he ever hears this, please fucking message me because I don't have your number. But yeah, I definitely practice on my own. I think I'm just gifted. No, I think I like have always had music in my background, so
Yeah.
it was just something that came second nature.
Well, you are incredible, and the short time I've known you, you've shown, like, you've grown. Like, how long have we known each other now? Honestly,
Well, we first met at Jazz's birthday.
which was in June this year,
Yeah, but then didn't really reconnect until
about 3-4 months ago.
how did that even come about?
So I was about to go over to Jazz's for dinner, and then she was like, "Oh, can I invite my friend Steph as well?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't care." And
you
then
picked me up.
yeah, and then she so I didn't have your number saved because I only met you once before, and like
Yeah.
you know, like I'm not gonna like ask for your number straight away because
Can I have your number?
yeah, we barely
You
even
know.
spoke that first time. But that first time I did meet you, I just remember you were like, "Does anyone want to come out and get high?" I was like, "Fuck, this bitch is cool. Yes, I'm coming out to get high." But we barely spoke, and then when I was having dinner with the girls, yeah, she added you to the group chat, and then you messaged the group. You're like, "Does anyone live near Kingsford, and can they pick me up on the way to get a ride for a ride or something?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't really know her, but it is on my way, so I'll go pick you up." And when I picked you up, we just didn't stop talking, and we
No,
never
it was
stopped
so
talking.
great.
Yeah.
So good. I'm so
I think
grateful.
one of the reasons why I really connect with you is like you're really spiritual, and you like I feel like when we have conversations about certain things like energetic healing and spiritual stuff, like we're always on the same wavelength, and I draw a lot of strength from you because I learn a lot from you, and I feel like that, you know, it's reciprocated. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I learned a lot from you. It's just nice that to segue into like your first episode of your podcast, how you're saying that, you know, on social media you only see a certain part of yourself, or like you only portray a certain part of yourself. It's really nice to be able to get really deep and for people to know that we are spiritual beings and we're not just fucking pretty faces on Instagram, or, oh, you know, someone that posts in a bikini and stuff. Like, we actually have brains.
Yeah, and I feel like you're one of my only friends that I have that I connect with, like that's so on my wavelength with spiritual stuff. Like all of my
Yeah, we
friends,
talk about anything,
yeah,
really.
all of my
Yeah.
friends are quite spiritual, but like you, when I talk to you, I feel like you just understand. I don't even need to explain things. Like you understand what I'm thinking.
Pisces.
I know, and it's because we have that Pisces connection. But also, one of the reasons why I wanted you to come on my podcast today is when I spoke to you last week, you told me about kinesiology, and I've always wanted to try kinesiology because I feel like there's so much healing that I want to do, like from like stuff that's happened to me when I was younger and stuff now, but it's just I've never found the right person to do it. Can you explain to everyone what kinesiology is and why you wanted to do it?
I was brought, someone told me about kinesiology. Well, Jasmine's auntie did, my masseuse. And she'd gotten some healing done. And at the moment, I'm going through a healing journey where I'm dealing with arthritis. I had an autoimmune disease. I'm going to claim that it's gone because I had my body reset by he doesn't like to call himself a kinesiologist.
Yeah.
He says that he is a neurological trainer. So he does deal with the brain. He deals with, I guess what I said to you before was like we're a giant sperm. We're a brain with like nerves. Everything else, our meat vessel and our bones and everything, it's just attached to our central nervous system, our brain, our big sperm thing. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I was given his contact. I messaged him and I booked in to see this guy. Kinesiology works with energy. It works with
So I actually Googled it.
Good.
So
Like, give me
before we dive into our own experience, let's give everyone like the
definition. But he doesn't say he's a kinesiologist. He says he hates being called one.
Okay, but what
it has such a, I guess it has like a woo-woo around it.
Because he's not very like spiritual, but what he does is quite like energetic.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
So when I Googled it, it says kinesiology is understood as the system of natural health care, which combines muscle monitoring with the principles of Chinese medicine to assess energy and body function, applying a range of gentle yet powerful healing techniques to improve health, well-being, and vitality. Kinesiology is a non-invasive method using precision muscle feedback and body awareness that can help you reduce stress and pain, improve performance at school, work, and home, and in sports, yada, 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 yada. So basically, it allows you to just heal with muscle feedback.
Yeah.
Like,
and muscle feedback, meaning they do this thing called muscle testing, where they kind of put your arm up like this. For the people that are listening and they can't see what I'm doing, I'm putting my arm up like an L shape, and they push against your hand, and you resist against their hand, but it's very light. And then they touch different parts of your body, like your sternum or something, or your third eye, or they'll touch like your shoulder or these little points or your meridian points on your body. And if your hand goes down, it means that it's weak or something. How the body responds unconsciously to like, you know, like you'll touch your spleen, and if your spleen's not working properly, your arm will go down. Yeah. Without your leg.
I know. Well, the thing is, right, we'll get into my experience soon, but I like to think I'm quite like a spiritual person, and I'm very open to like all sorts of energetic healing. But to be fair, when I saw him, I was like, this guy's a bit far-fetched. But the results now
isn't he?
Yeah, the results are quite incredible. But like my thing was like, I don't know, like I've done breath work, I've done like Reiki and all that stuff. And I don't know why, but I feel like I believe more of that than I do with kinesiology. But kinesiology for me I've seen better benefits from it. So I don't know why I was such a skeptic. And then he was like saying to me, well, you know, the skeptics are usually the ones that like reap the most benefits from this.
Because you're the ones that expect the least.
Yeah.
You're expecting it not to work. When you expect things to work, or you have this like idea that, you know, it has to go a certain way, and then when it doesn't go the way that you want it to, then. Yeah.
So tell me about your experience when you went and saw like him for the first time.
What happened when I saw him the first time? I've seen him twice now.
Yeah. But why did you wanted to go seek it? Was it for
arthritis? Yeah. My mother is healing from a rheumatoid, so I think it was a genetic thing. My body won't even tell Rob what's going on.
Yeah.
And then I got like an autoimmune disease, meaning like dis-ease in the body, not disease. Where like my fingers go white and the circulation doesn't go to them anymore. Yeah. So that's how I knew that I had an autoimmune disease. Or dis-ease, I'll say. The first time I went, there's like this 12-step thing that he does, and he like undid my jaw because my jaw was really tight. He found out that my neck was really tight because when I was a kid, my mum fell down the stairs with me, and like subconsciously, then as a you know, a child that was like learning how to like be a human being, I thought that I had to like hold my neck and my shoulders quite tightly because there was always this like thing that what if I fall? And that was with me from the ages of, I don't know, maybe that was 3 or 4 or something, all the way up until I guess 29. And he found that by doing this muscle testing thing, and he was doing the thing where he was doing the arm muscle, was it muscle testing, and he touched my my sacrum, and he was like, your head is your dad and your sacrum's your mum. He goes, what's up with your mum? I was like, nothing. He goes, how's your relationship with your mum? I'm like, good. Me and my mum are good. And then he was like, it's trauma to your head from something with your mum. And I was like, I'm Asian, like, I used to get, you know, we used to get a fucking wooden spoon as a kid, but I don't think I ever got, like, hit across the face by my mum. And then I remembered she'd told me that she'd fallen down the stairs with me, and I was like, oh. And he goes, yeah, that's the reason why your neck is so tight, and that's the reason why, you know, if your energy needs to be dispersed properly through your body. So they work a lot on, like, having that energy flow, that chi flow, I guess, in, like, Chinese medicine. So sometimes if certain muscles are overactive, they're taking the energy that's needed for the other muscles to work properly.
So it overcompensates.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So I think my neck was overcompensating, or like the front or the back of my neck was overcompensating, something like that. So he reset that for me. And then, like, you know, I've seen my physio since then. I've seen my masseuse, and I've seen my chiro since then. They've all said that there's been a difference in my neck, which is great. So yeah, he fixed that for me the first time I saw him. What about you? Okay, well, now that you know the first time that I went, I've been twice. Let's talk about your first time.
Okay, so after, you know, you went and then Jazz went, I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, true. Shout out Jazz.
So I was like, okay, cool. So maybe this is like my next thing I need to do to heal, because like I said, I've done so much healing work.
Cutting you off before that, remember when I first told you, like, oh, I don't know if I need anything healed, and then when Jazz went and she had her experience, you were a bit more open to it. So you're like, because you were a bit skeptical, which is okay. It's better to be skeptical than to.
I don't think I was skeptical in a sense. I was more scared, and like the reason why I was scared was because, like, I was in the process of releasing this podcast, and I felt like I've done enough work to sort of protect me from it, from, like, you know, like I had major fears around releasing this podcast, that first episode, right? I had anxiety. I was overthinking a lot of things because it was my first sort of platform talking about what happened.
Yeah.
So I felt like I had to close myself off and protect myself energetically. And I felt like if I was to do any sort of healing, it would open up, like, wounds that I wasn't ready to deal with because I had this podcast to release. So I needed to be, like, strong. I needed to have, like, this barrier. But when Jazz had her experience, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go. And if he opens up wounds, then it's my lesson to just go through and just to learn, you know?
Everything is as it should be.
Am I too close to it? Yeah. No. So when, you know, Jazz had her experience, and then when I was listening to you both talk about it, I was like, okay, I had a sense that I needed to message him. So I messaged him, and I said to you, I was like, is he creepy or anything? Because, like, I don't know, like, the healing I've done, it's all from women. And there's a thing with, like, I don't have problem with men as such, but when it comes from, like, a place of healing, I don't know why, but I prefer feminine energy. I think it's because, like, obviously with what I'm about to talk about, it's very, I like feminine energy a lot more. But anyways, I'm digressing. When I met him, immediately I was like, oh, I don't know how I felt about him. He was a bit quirky, but, like, he didn't give me the creeps or anything. So I was like, sweet. So it's like we went upstairs to his little, like, healing studio, and he could tell that I was nervous, because when I'm nervous, I like to crack jokes.
You're funny, oi.
I crack a lot of jokes, and, like, you know, he's very, like, serious. Like, he's just, like, gives me this weird look. Not even a weird look, but he just looks at me like he knows that I'm just cracking jokes because I'm uncomfortable. So I sat down, and he's like, he gets this sheet of paper, and he goes, all right, so what would you like to work on? I'm like, I don't know, bro. Aren't you supposed to tell me?
Imagine going to, like, a doctor's office and, like, I don't know, you tell me.
Well, like, I was just, you know, fuck, like, you're this energy healing person. You tell me what I need to work on. And then he goes, just start with what bothers you. I was like, emotionally or physically? And he was like, both. And I was like, I don't know what really bothers me. I do overthink a lot. And so he wrote down overthinking, and he goes, how's your relationship with your mum? And I was like, oh, that's a can of worms. And I was like, my mum is this, my mum is that, yada, yada. Like, I love my mum, but I had major issues. I still have unresolved issues with her now. When I was 6 or 7, I was sexually assaulted by this person. So when we first came to Australia, it was just mum and I, and we lived in this apartment where it was 3 bedrooms. So it was mum and I in one room, this family of 3 in another, and this guy in another room. And obviously, like, we didn't know them or whatever. It's just whatever we could afford at the time. So mum would often work in school holidays and stuff. I would have to stay at home because she couldn't afford childcare. So she'll often leave me at home by myself. And that's when the assault would happen, because this person obviously took advantage of a young fucking child, and it was just really awful. But my brain really did protect myself from it. Like, I feel like I can talk about it now because I've done therapy and stuff for it, but there's obviously still a lot of healing to do.
But also your age to, like, you were, how old were you when this happened?
6 or 7.
So like you got 0 to 7 to program, in quotation marks, program a child, so you would have still been in your development stages.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense that would have really, like, it would have been like the marker to why or who you are today and why you get triggered so easily.
Yeah, well, when I think about what happened, like, I know it happened like maybe 2 or 3 times, and like I have flashes in my brain, but like my brain really did protect myself from it, because I can't even like recall the feelings, but I know it happened because yeah, it was obviously very traumatic. But when I think about it, like, those feelings don't come up anymore because of what Rob did. Like, you know, he healed that part. But so I said that to him. He's like, okay, that's something we can talk about. He's like, what about your relationship with your dad? I was like, what dad? So write down daddy issues. And then he goes, and then, like, you know, I said a bunch of other stuff, and he was like, okay, this is probably a good start. So you came for overthinking, but let's test your body to see if it's overthinking that we need to work on today. Yeah. So he had my arm up in the L shape, and then he lightly pressed his fingers on my hand and was pushing down. He's like,
it's like a gearbox.
Yeah, he's like, overthinking, it didn't work. Mummy issues didn't work. Daddy issues didn't work. And he goes, sexual assault at 6 or 7. Boom, my hand dropped.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, that's what we're going to work on today. I was like, oh, fuck. You know,
that's what the body wants to work on.
Yeah, I was like, all right, fuck, let's just rip me to pieces right now. Just rip my heart open. So he did like a whole bunch of like tapping on my body and stuff. And he goes, let me just assess your brain. So he's like, he drew a picture. He's like, your brain is split up into 4 quadrants. You've got your front left, your right left, your back left, and your back right. And your brain is supposed to operate at the same percentage for all 4 quadrants. He's like, let's test them to see what's happening in your brain. So the front left was going at 34%. The front right was going at 67%. The back right was going at like 52% or something. And the back left was going at 98%. And I was like, ooh, 98%. That means I'm really, really smart, Rob. And then he just looks at me. He was like, He's like, that's not a good thing. I was like, oh, it's not? You're saying like I'm not really smart? Can you just imagine this guy, right? He's like freaking like a dad. He's like,
he's full serious and stuff, and you're just there like cracking jokes upstairs,
trying to make him laugh, and he's just like looking at me with a serious like scientific eyes, and I'm just like, okay, well, whatever. And he goes, your back left is your fight or flight response. And it's been working on overdrive at 98% because ever since
you were 6
or 7, your brain had to protect yourself because you were in survival mode because of this traumatic thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, we need to readjust your brain. And he goes, that's why you overthink a lot. That's why when you're anxious or stressed, you get so tired because your brain has been working like this from the ages of 6 or 7. And he goes, can you just imagine what that does to your body? I was like,
that overcompensation we were talking about before.
I was like, oh, true. So he did a bunch of other things as well. Like there's a whole range of what we can talk about and whatever, but I just really want to drive home the fact that he said my body was working perfectly. Like every organ is functioning the way it's supposed to. But he goes, your kidneys, when it comes to anxiety and stress, is failing. So when I'm anxious or stressed, my kidneys have been working in overdrive and it doesn't work. So when I'm in a state of constant stress, I'm so tired and so like energetically depleted because that's
your energy's been sent to a certain part of your brain or whatever, and it just there's no energy left.
That's my trauma response.
Yeah, that's right.
So the way he tested that, he held my left leg up in the air and he goes, your left leg is your left leg is related to your fucking kidneys or whatever. I don't know, man. The whole time he was doing this, I'm like, bro, you're pushing my arm. He was like, no, I'm not. Like, you're I was being such a little bitch, but he goes like, I'm just gonna test your left leg. And then I put up my left leg, and he goes, let's see how your function works. And it like dropped down straight away when he pushed it.
Yeah, you're supposed to resist against his
And then he was, see, it's not working. I was like, no, it's not. It's because I did legs the other day, and that's why it's really, really sore. And he goes, oh, you did legs, yeah? I was like, yeah, that's why I can't hold it up. And this poor man was just like, mm-hmm. And then he tested the other one, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, he's like, resist. I was like, I am resisting, but my legs are sore.
You're so fucking bad.
It was like, even like this most skeptics of all skeptics can be turned or something like that. I was like, all right, it's true, whatever. So he did something where he just like resetted some brain, and then he fixed my kidneys. And
how did he reset it for you? Because obviously there are different ways that there are like a trillion different things that he can do to a person, just depending on what they need. Like this
So when he tested out the quadrants, my hand was still up. So like that. So he would go front left operating at 98, not 80, whatever. And then it goes, and then he was like 30, and then 31, 32. And then whatever dropped, like 38, was what the front left was operating at. And same with all the others. So it was all just like muscle testing. And he was like, I'm not actually doing anything. It's your body that's telling me what your brain is doing. So
and mind you, sorry to interrupt, mind you, your body responds, or your body, you just as a person will work on 80% unconscious, 20% conscious, 80 to 90% unconscious. So you're doing things without even realizing it. Like, we're breathing without realizing that we're breathing. To be able to breathe, we're pumping around like oxygenated blood. To oxygenate that blood, we've got to do so many other systems are working without us consciously thinking about it. So your body is having a conversation with your healer or your neurological trainer or your kinesiologist without you having to do anything or say anything. So by him saying things, or just like saying like 20%, 30%, your body can respond to you just as long as you're either turned off or you're allowing it to happen, kind of thing. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not, yeah.
And I think why it works so well for me, because I honestly did not think
no expectations.
I had no expectations.
Exactly right.
I just literally just wanted to go in and see what he was all about. So, okay, so the way he healed my legs is your adrenal glands are in your like belly, like right underneath your ribs and above your belly button. So he's like, I need to reset your adrenal glands response. So he put his hands there, like where just underneath my ribs, and he like fucking like vibrated my like that, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing, you weirdo? But he was doing that. He was doing this. I was like,
it's like when you go to the gym, right, and they say to touch the muscle to activate it whilst you're doing the movement.
Yeah,
it's almost like just touch the thing so at least it works again.
Yeah,
right?
So he was doing this. I was like, okay, and then he did that, and then like he tested the left kidney, and he was like, oh, see, I thought you did legs, because like when my left leg was up and he tested it, it just didn't move. I was like, oh, true.
Stronger.
True. And then he tested the right one. He's like, that one needs a bit more work. So he did that. And then he went in the back of my brain, and then he like put his fingers in the back of my brain. He goes, now I'm just telling your brain to send the blood to your adrenal glands.
Did he tap on the back?
He pushed into the back of my brain, because it's signaling the brain to send blood into that spot or whatever.
Yep.
So like whatever. And then he tested out the right leg, and it wouldn't move. And I was like, yeah, but your belly pushing. He's like, no, look, I'm pushing it. I was like, oh, true.
Right. It's fucking wild, isn't it?
Yeah. So after he did all that, he was like, it's not the sexual assault that needs healing. It's something deeper. So he tested my body again. He's like, what is it? And then he had all these cards. I don't know what the cards are. Like, do you know what they are?
There are so many different things that he has. Was he pulling out like the chromosome card?
Yeah.
So it was a chromosome one?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, apparently it was something that this like lady had found out or just done or made.
Whatever. There's so much to it, hey?
There is so many different types of,
So he identified like my biggest thing about the sexual assault was I still had a fear. And he was like testing out what fear was. And I had a fear of death. And I was like, everyone has a fear of death. And he was like, no, not everyone does. You have a fear of death when it comes to anxiety and stress because when you were 6 or 7, you thought you were going to die because that was such a traumatic response for you. And it was a traumatic thing that happened. Your brain, because it was so young, thought you were going to die. So it had to protect itself. Yeah. That's why the back left has been operating at 98%. And that's why whenever like there's a stressful situation or something that like alters your like triggers your brain to overthinking, you have this
fight or flight, and you have this fight or flight response, and it works at 95%, or was it 95%? 98, mate. Imagine that. Imagine like, your body always going to fight or flight just every time you're stressed out.
That's why I overthink so much, and that's why I have a lot of I work out a lot because I feel like that's the only way I can release that excess energy. So
did you say your adrenals as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Your fear.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So whatever, we found out it was a fear of death and all that shit. And then like he did some sort of other muscle tapping. And honestly, I can say at first, like when it was all over, I didn't feel any different. But over the last couple of days since I've done that, I've noticed that things don't bother me as much. So when I released the first episode, usually I would go down the spiral. If I see a negative comment, it would affect me for a long time.
Yeah.
But now that when I see a negative comment or someone saying shit, I'm just like, oh, cool, whatever. You know, like it drops away easier. My brain doesn't like keep like thinking about it and keep like churning it over my head. I feel like I'm more at peace with like negative stuff.
Comments. And I don't, to segue again a little bit, it's just, I don't think people will truly understand what it's like to have a bunch of negative comments, if not like one or two, just on something that you've worked so hard on, or just like a video or a post, until I guess you've been in the limelight of some sort. Because like it can be so mentally exhausting. It can be mentally like, it's horrible.
Yeah.
It gives you anxiety. It makes you feel like shit. It makes you not want to open up your phone because you don't want to go on your post to see what someone said.
Yeah.
Because it can fuck you up.
Well, that was one of the reasons why when I got cancelled, I had to get off social media because people were sending me shit like jump off a bridge, go kill yourself and all that stuff. And like usually I think like I'm pretty strong mentally, but like there's something that, because I was also removed from like everything I know, right? I was stuck in this fucking city where I couldn't get home. So when you're in that moment of deep darkness and you're getting all these like death threats and all this shit and telling you to jump off a bridge, your brain starts thinking, oh fuck, like your brain starts like churning it over and start like wanting to seek more of those negative comments rather than like the nice ones.
Exactly. You're focusing on the bad, not the good.
Yeah. So but now that, you know, I get trolls and shit and like I get fucking whatever, like, because you know I'm always going to get haters no matter what I do, and if you don't get haters then you're not doing something right. But it just doesn't fucking bother me.
It is.
I don't know, I feel like that's the bulk of what I want to say, but do you want to talk more about your experience?
I had a second experience.
Yeah.
That second time that I went, that's probably the one that's been the most exciting for me. Is, finding the autoimmune dis-ease in my body. And he said that the way to find it is to put your, like, this is the autoimmune testing thing, like the position to put your arms in. I have my hands crossed over. Yeah. Like I'm like dead. And then he does like the muscle testing or like the tapping and stuff. And then he, obviously I had an autoimmune disease, didn't know what the fuck it was. So we went through this process, took about 30 minutes to reset my autoimmune system. And like I said before, I had like the cold hands. So I get like literally my hands will go cold. You've seen, I sent you photos. They go white and they don't return to like a normal color for 10, 15 minutes. So I'll have numb fingers, can't feel them. It's really, really frustrating. And ever since I got that autoimmune reset, I've had my cold showers in the morning. My hands will go white as they always do, but the color returns within 2-3 minutes. It used to take me 10 to 15 minutes to get color back. Now I'll just sit down, I'll watch my hands go red again. So I know that my autoimmune system is finally working again, which means it's just now the process of like relearning how to be human and to be in homeostasis again. Yeah. It's really interesting how The funny thing when he was doing the thing with my leg and he made me stick my tongue out. He was like, stick your tongue out to the side. I'm not even kidding. I was thinking to myself like, D. That's so good. But yeah, it was very, very interesting. I'm really, really grateful for the fact that he has reset my autoimmune system. And I don't care if people think it's a crock of shit. Go find a good kinesiologist or a neurological trainer. You may find some that aren't good. Like you build in any field, there are shit physios, there are shit doctors, but there are also really, really good doctors and really, really good physios. And,
yeah, 100%. And I feel like this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast, because I like to document my healing journey for myself, but also for my friends, because, you know, I have so many girlfriends who have like issues, or I have so many girlfriends who have issues like mentally or like physically.
Oh my God. Like freaking, what's the period? Endometriosis is a massive one for females.
Exactly. There's
Massive.
there's so many like issues that we have in our bodies, and we can all trace it down to energetic healing. Because sometimes, you know, the fucking medicines and stuff, like I like to be a naturalist. Like I don't like to take a lot of medication if I could find like a natural energetic way to heal, because, you know, I don't want to put more shit in my body. Like I want to actually find the root of the problem. And I'm all for kinesiology, or what does he call himself?
He likes to call him, like, to say he's a neurological trainer, which does make sense.
Yeah, so I like kinesiology and what he did, because I felt like it got to the root of the abuse. Not like it wasn't healing from the abuse, because I've moved past from the abuse, but it's like getting over that fear.
It still sticks in your body, as like your body remembers. Your body has muscle memory, and it's gonna just, once you're trained to be a certain way, it's like they say the Russians train the kids, and when they click their fingers, all of a sudden they turn into like killing machines or whatever it is, you know, just your body will unconsciously do things without you knowing why you're doing the thing. So, why do you tense up? I don't know.
So how he explained it, because I was like to him, I was like, I've been to therapy and I've done breath work and all that.
Which is great, by the way.
Which is excellent. Like talk therapy and all that is fantastic. And I recommend that. And I was like, so, you know, realistically, I should be healed from this. And he was like, well, no, because think about your body. When you stick your finger in an electrical socket and you get shocked, you can talk about how it made you feel and those emotions, and then those emotions will go away, but your body still remembers the finger being shocked. So you will still be scared of sockets because it's your body's response. Kinesiology, or this healing that we do, removes your body, makes your body forget about that shock so you can move on from it. So talk therapy and all that is great, but it doesn't deal with how your body is responding to it. So my fear of death thing, how he actually reset my brain to get over fear of death, was he made me hold my breath. So he made me breathe in like this and then exhale all the air, but then lift up my lungs and hold up my chest. But hold my breath. So my brain thinks that there's air in my chest, but there's no air going in. So my brain's like freaking out and like
suffocating.
And it's like,
you're dying.
Going to spasm. He's like, it's a really awful exercise, but if we do it like a couple of times, your brain will go into factory reset, because it's changing that fight or flight response, because it's not fixing what's already happened, because your brain's already worked in overdrive, but it's resetting it back to how it should be.
Yes.
So when we first did that exercise, like, and hold my lungs up, I couldn't hold my breath for longer than 3 seconds. He's like, it's okay, we'll do it again. So the first time I did it, I held it for 3 seconds. The second time was 5 seconds. The third time, 10 seconds. The fourth time, 20 seconds. We did it 5 times. And the fifth time, I was able to hold it for like at least 30 seconds. And he goes, now I'm going to test your brain quadrants.
Yeah.
It goes 54, the front left, 53, the front right, 53, the back left,
balance,
and 54 again, the back right. So my brain quadrants are now speaking on the same level.
Well, now you're sharing the energy properly around, rather than 98% holding all the energy that the rest of your brain needs, you know?
Yeah. And I definitely feel that, like, when I'm, like, I haven't been stressed or anxious over the last week, and realistically I should, because I'm dealing with a lot going on in my life, like not just a podcast, but with the boys.
Oh my God. Do we get into the tea?
No, we're not going to get into the tea with the boys because it's not worth it, because they're just boys, they're not men.
Oi.
Maybe that could be the next episode. But yeah, fuck me, man. Like honestly, what is up with me right now? Why am
I reckon it's Mars retrograde, bringing all of them back. Just so
okay, can you explain to me what's Mars retrograde?
So Mars, like you said before, right?
Venus is your love.
Venus is love. Mars is your planet of like your basic instinct, your sexual drive, your animalistic instincts.
So why are all these people from my past coming back?
Well, it's your sexual energy, right?
The voodoo clam energy.
Well, when you've reset that kind of should I call it daddy issues?
Well,
situation.
Yeah, I don't think I've reset the daddy issues, but I reset like my problem with men. Right. Like, because I've always had an issue with men because of what happened. Yeah. And my issue with men does stem from daddy issues because I felt like I didn't have that male authoritative figure in my life to protect me. So when I've come like during my relationships with men, I realize I do seek validation and I go for men who
the wrong ones, yeah.
Yeah, but I go for the protective type, which is really toxic because I like, someone to protect me and someone that like is a bit maybe controlling or too aggressive. But I seem to seek that and it attracts the wrong sort of people in my life. So
see how now that you've done the healing, it has this positive ripple effect. So if you've been keeping unconsciously, right, because we work 90% unconscious, if we're attracting or sending out these signals that we want these type of men around, they're the people now that you're going to bring back into your life, and the universe is going to go, so do you want this person in your life anymore? And so you'll get them back, and maybe the old you would have been like, oh yeah, but like, he was so good to me, he was so nice, he was so kind, and he was, he used to like pick me up and message me being like, where are you, babe? Why aren't you home? Cuddle me.
That is so true.
Right, and now you're like, no, I don't need that shit in my life. That's not the kind of energy I want. That's not the person I want in my life anymore. And you make room for better suited men or better suited people just in general for you.
Well, I do feel like the universe has been testing me because all these like shitty men are coming back out of the woodwork. So like, hey, and I'm just like, nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Right.
Bye.
Thank you, next.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas in the past, you'd be like, oh, yeah, but the dick's so
in the past, I'd be like, hey, daddies.
Hey, daddy, I need help. Hey, dad, I'm lonely. And the better people came back, the ones that you did have a genuine connection with that was honest and wasn't controlling, but it felt flowy. They called you, you know what I mean? Like, and they texted you. So you had the right ones showing up and the wrong ones, but your brain or your subconscious and your conscious mind was able to, able to talk to you. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They were talking to each other and being able to be like, oh, we want this one, we don't want this one.
Yeah. And
better judgment.
Yeah. And I feel like it's allowed me to have the closure that I need from people that have hurt me or that I thought that has hurt me, right? So, there's some people in my past that I don't talk to anymore that have reached out to me that have such a profound experience in my life, have actually said, hey, I never wronged you and I'm sorry that you felt like I wronged you, but this is literally what happened and I just want you to know that there's still love there. And and that's such a beautiful thing when, I can have those experiences, because my biggest thing is like I never had closure from certain connections that have really made such a profound impact on my life.
Exactly. And it was an honest, genuine experience with like love, whatever kind of love it was an unconditional love that was just, it worked. So at least now you can say that you can keep those connections if I can get rid of the boys. Yeah. No boys allowed.
I want to say thank you so much, Steph, for coming onto my podcast. I'm excited to see your DJ journey. You had your first gig over the weekend, and I'm very, very proud of you. And I'm so excited to see you play at more venues. But for those that want to connect with you, can you give them your socials and where they can find you and find your music?
Just find me on Instagram at the moment at OhMyGodJadeX, OMGJADEX.
And that's a wrap.
14, mate.
Let's go to Flower Power. We're having a plant day. We need to go to Flower Power and get some stuff for our plants.
I'm so excited.